We're back.
Once again.
Once again, the Duluth Conservative starts another show on Thursday right on time. Uh,
Finally.
so why? Why this show? Well, let's just talk about that first. So we're doing this because we're going to talk about stories that may be getting ignored, which our actual first story is going to be that. We get to talk about news that is getting tamped down or modified, and we want to talk about it to show you there's actually conservatives from Duluth, Minnesota, and what do we think and how do we go about thinking without a screaming match, yelling at each other, just having a conversation about what we think. And we invite comments, we invite subscribers, we invite people to subscribe and like us. That would be great. I think the goal, Dave, is to get to 100 subscribers by end of March. How's that sound? Think we could do that?
I think we're at pace to do it. So, yeah, I think it's an achievable goal.
Cool. I think we should do it. So we're going to talk about some breaking stories or some top stories, and then we're going to move down into Duluth news, Minnesota news, national news, and we're going to have a little bit on health and fitness because Dave and I both believe that health and fitness is a very important part of everybody's life. And if people were healthier, we would have probably less problems mentally and physically in this country. So, shall we start right off with the top story?
Absolutely.
All right. Top story is if people didn't know about this, in Rhode Island, there was a guy who took a gun and shot up a hockey game. And Sammy Hagar, no, it's not Sammy Hagar, but it looks like Sammy Hagar to me,
Yeah.
did this. And it was a big story when it first came out because he shot up a bunch of people. He killed himself, I believe. And then when they found out it was a trans guy, the story went away. I went and checked all the major news platforms today, couldn't find a word of this. So it struck me that whenever there's a trans page, a rampage from a trans person, there is no news coverage of it. And anything else will get the big people to come out and say, this has got to stop. We got to ban guns. We got to do this and that. But when this happens, nothing, because they don't want to address the fact that you've got people that we have a pattern of this happening now. People are on these drugs, wildly changing their moods, and they're doing things that are horrible. But nobody's talking about it. The major news organizations do not pick this up. I mean, literally go to any of the MSM, CNN, Fox News, everybody. You will not see this story on the front page anymore. And this just happened a couple of days ago. So I don't understand what the blackout is, but this is one of the reasons for this show is just to talk about something that maybe the news media doesn't want us talking about. And that is consistently we've had trans people doing these shootings. And maybe we should start looking at what are the drugs we're pumping into their systems, and maybe that's a bad thing. Thoughts?
Yeah. We talked a little bit about this last week is, what's causing all these trans people to go berserk on people? I mean, is it the drugs? Is it the fact that they don't think they're in the right body? The whole thing doesn't make sense. But if it's drugs, let's take them off the drugs, if and see if that stops it. You know, I mean, his kid
Well,
was
if they,
pregnant, his own kid. I mean, that's
yeah,
ridiculous.
it's bad. I mean, and it was funny because I was listening to like one of these drug ads, and it was like, yeah, this is an antidepressant. So the premise of the ad was this woman was on the ad, and she needed to, even though she was on antidepressants, she wasn't happy. So this is another drug that could make you happier. But then I'm listening to all the side effects, and the side effects are like it can increase your thoughts of suicide. It could, it
Right.
could cause you to have sudden death. And there was a whole lot of side effects that were no good.
Yeah, they're
So
worse than the fixing the problem.
every one of them, and I know they have to mention everything because they do their tests and they have to mention that as a precaution. But geez, I don't know if I want sudden death to be my side effect for feeling a little happier. I don't know. That's me.
Yeah, I mean, we, obviously the lawyers got involved, so you have to hear all the side effects. But still, it's like, at what
Right.
point do the pills make it worse than the problem you're trying to fix?
Right. Then I get the ones that are like, I have bloating. Well, that could cause your heart to stop. Well, yeah, I can take the bloating. It's okay.
It's acceptable. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right.
Well, when
Uh,
you're not going to be bloating that much, so
you will initially. So, the next story is the 79th suspect in massive Minnesota fraud scheme has been arrested after attempting to flee to the UK. So we got people here that are committing a lot of fraud, and they are trying to get out of the country as soon as possible because they can feel the heat coming now. In 2025 alone, the center they worked for reportedly hauled in a staggering $3.67 million in child care assistance funding. So they're trying to
yeah.
leave. This is a good sign. The more they try to leave, the more it seems like we're doing the right thing and we're finding them. So that's good. This is the 79th suspect. I have not heard of one government official being put into jail yet or being charged. The people that had oversight over the entire thing, right?
Right. Well, so then you got to go back to, did the lawmakers put that in there so they could? It was easy to defraud the government,
Yeah.
So because there's been a lot of conspiracy theories of that Walz was shutting down all the whistleblowers. So
That's not a conspiracy theory. That's the people in that department are saying that's what happened.
Okay. Yeah, so they knew it. They just their hands were tied and couldn't do anything about it.
Yes, and there was people reporting this all the way from 2019. In fact, I think if we play the next video, our Minnesota Attorney General, Keith Ellison, went to the federal government to testify. And boy, we'll talk about it later, but man, what a cocky guy that guy is. He is just so pompous. But they're basically saying what he's saying in this one is people brought to him in 2019 that there was fraud. And what he did was say, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. And it turned out like 4 days later, he got some massive donation from that group to his campaign fund. And this guy says, this is bribery. Unfortunately, this is a federal senator saying this, but what's happening? Everybody can say somebody needs to get arrested for it, but when the people in power aren't doing anything about it, it's just talk. We need to see some people in jail.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is if they're not, what do we have in these congressional hearings for if no one's going to go to jail over it?
Yeah. Just to hear them yell at each other.
Yeah. Then it's just a show.
Yes. It is just a show. It seems like it because they never seem to get anybody.
Right. Do we want to play it or just post it?
Just play the beginning part of it.
As early as 2019. Let's look. As early as 2019, whistleblower. Don't talk over me.
No,
as early as
talking
2019, it's my hearing, pal. As early as 2019,
don't call me
whistleblowers came. Well, I should call you prisoner because you ought to be in jail.
All right, here with more, Missouri Senator Josh Hawley.
Yeah, but talk about the attitude, right? He's testifying there. It's like, don't call me pal. What do you think you're in a movie, Keith? Jesus.
Right. Yeah, he should be fired just for that, and then just wait until we get the $500,000 bill for him and Walz to go testify.
Yeah, and their entourage and their coaching.
Yeah, I mean the last time Walz went, what was it, $430,000 it cost us the taxpayers.
Yeah, he had to do prep for it. Why do you have to do prep to go testify in front of somebody just asking what's going on? And we will be coming back to Ellison a little bit later to talk about some of this stuff because he was clearly coached to not say yes to anything. Yes or no. He was told, do not respond to yes or no questions.
Yeah, he wouldn't even answer his own name.
Right.
His own occupation. What job do you have?
Yeah. Are you the Attorney General of Minnesota? He would not answer it. It's
right.
All right. So next story is nearly 100% of all Minnesota counties are now notifying ICE when a criminal illegal alien is being released so they can be deported. Tom Holman made sure of this, and this is the reason that they're standing down. And people should be happy about this because this means that the ICE agents can now pick these guys up at the prison and then take them into custody and do what they do with them. They don't have to go into people's neighborhoods, which is the whole point of all these protests, right? They're saying these people aren't qualified, they shouldn't be in our neighborhood, they're scaring everybody. Well, they don't have to do that. They're going after the criminals. The criminals are being caught by the police. They should be given back to the ICE agents. So,
Right.
this is good news, and they better be doing it. But
Exactly.
Walz and Frey want to charge the Trump administration or the federal government $203 million for the ICE raids. They have to pay for what they broke. So it says the federal government needs to pay for what they broke. There's going to be accountability on the things that happened, but one of these things is the incredible and immense costs that were borne by the people of this state, Walz said. I'm trying to figure out what was it that the state had to pay for? And who is the cause of these problems in the first place? You know, it's the Biden administration was the cause of the problems. Tim Walz encouraged people to come here. Talked about, if you put a 50-foot wall up, I'll invest in a ladder company that makes 51 feet ladders. So they're just cleaning up your mess. Walz should be paying, if anybody. Both these guys were in charge when the George Floyd riots came out, and they did nothing about them. So they should be personally paying for that.
Yeah, but who gets to pay the bill for both of their mistakes? Well, taxpayers. Yeah.
Right.
You know, they don't pay. They don't. Nothing comes out of it. They don't lose their job. They don't. Nothing happens to them.
No.
You know, after the 2020 riots, doofus Walz got reelected. It's like, how can you get reelected?
So did Frey.
Frey. How can you get reelected when you do your job horribly?
The best thing that came out of the national exposure of him was he will not be running for governor again.
Right. And we have a story on him liking glass to doing another political job, so that helps.
Yes,
that too, so.
He's squashing the rumor that he will be filling Klobuchar's Senate seat, because he's just assuming she's going to win. But he said he would rather eat glass than fill her seat. We'll see. I don't believe anything he says. I mean, I think it was Senator Kennedy that said that he thinks Walz learned how to lie before he learned how to talk.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we need Kennedy around here. He's a lot more humorous.
I like that guy. He's slow Southern talking, but he just bites through you with that commentary. Another top. We're going to be done with the top stories after this, but the Duluth City Council, there was a resolution calling on the Minnesota governor to issue an emergency executive order instituting a temporary statewide program of financial residential program to families directly impacted by Operation Metro Surge. So it's an ordinance to basically pay people who are illegal that were nervous about the government coming to pick them up, paying them to stay here more. So it's more giving the wealth from American citizens to people who are citizens of other countries so they can get rich and then back to their own country when things start getting bad. And can we go there? No. I mean, it was an ironic thing that I was reading about it. This woman was in Germany, and she said, you know what? She's in Germany now. I don't want to come back to the United States. So I need to get all this. Why don't you want to come back? Well, because of the way they're treating the illegal aliens. Oh, okay. So what do you need? Well, I need all this documentation. Why? Well, the German government requires all this documentation to come here legally. He goes, why don't you just stay? Just stay. You don't have to provide your documentation. Well, no, they take it very seriously. They'll kick me out. Yeah. So you're okay being in that country for that. You not understand.
Yeah, it's hilarious. The man on the street interviews when they go to talk to these protesters, and they don't even know why they're there, or they do that they'll comment about exactly the opposite of what they're protesting.
Right.
That
It's
stupid lady
crazy.
about the protests and down in the people stopping people on the street to see who's in the neighborhood because she wants to know who's going to come into their neighborhood.
Right.
Oh,
Exactly. Show your papers.
show your papers.
It's,
Oh,
it's kind of ironic.
yeah,
Call Alanis Morissette.
yeah.
So apparently you have to go to the meeting to hear what actually changed. Is that right?
So I couldn't find anywhere online. They wanted to change the wording of something, and I couldn't find the original bill. And every time I tried to get to the new one to see where it changed, it just kept me in a circle. So I could never find out where the original one or the updated one was. So I never got an answer. So obviously it's, well, if you want to see what the law is, we got to pass it, kind of a thing.
Right.
Nancy Pelosi garbage.
Oh yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, just a side note, I got Team USA here. Apparently the women's, I don't want to spoil it, but the women's hockey team did something really good today, so you know. So I've still got Team USA up because the Winter Olympics is happening. I've watched 30 seconds of it, but you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. We're going on to Duluth. Hey, you know who Scott Presler is? Scott Presler is also known as the Persistence. He is a guy that went to Pennsylvania and flipped it red. Well, he has gotten some information from Duluth. The St. Louis County, Duluth, Minnesota, responded to their data practice request. Out of the total of 13,375 voters that registered to vote on Election Day in 2024, 737 of them were done with a vouching system. So over 5% of the people that registered to vote that day were just vouched for. They didn't have to show any ID. They didn't have to show any information to say where they're from. They just had to have somebody with them. And I think a person can vote or can vouch for up to like 12 or 13 people. One person.
Yeah, I heard 10, but it's about the same number.
So we got to change this. That's not the way you're supposed to be able to come and vote. Really, it isn't. Not in any kind of stable country. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about the SAVE Act because my wife did some research for me, which was really good. And I thought I'd talk a little bit about it because people are concerned about it. Now, in my term as trying to become a Minnesota legislator, this falls into the federal government. It's not really in the purview of Minnesota state stuff, but we'll just talk about it, what's necessary. So under the current Minnesota state law, registered voters do not have to show an ID at the polls to cast a ballot. You state your name, sign the roster, and vote. If you're registering at a polling place or have not voted in at least 4 years, you must show proof of current address. However, they do allow vouching for that. The SAVE Act, what would change is you would need proof of U.S. citizenship to register. So you'd have to require people to show documentation, proof of U.S. citizenship when they register to vote. So what are some examples of that? Some examples are a U.S. passport, driver's license or state ID that indicates citizenship, like an enhanced ID, like a real ID. Government issued photo ID together with proof of birth, a U.S. military ID card, or other government photo IDs that explicitly list citizenship status. So a lot of regular licenses don't apply, but the enhanced ones do. So this would be a major shift. So what it would do is if the SAVE Act becomes law, to register to vote in a federal election, a person would need to provide documentary proof of U.S. citizenship in person. To vote, Minnesota would be required to collect a photo ID at the polling place, even though Minnesota currently doesn't require it. So instead of just attesting you're a citizen and giving your name on election day, you would likely need both proof of citizenship documentation to register and a specific form of photo ID. So here's some important notes. As of early 2026, the SAVE Act has passed the U.S. House but has not become law. Then it still needs to ratify it. Minnesota would have some flexibility on some specifics, but federal law generally sets minimum standards for federal elections under the Constitution and the National Voter Registration Act. So, to register to vote, you would need to show U.S. passport and one document. That's it. Or an enhanced driver's license. Minnesota enhanced driver's license would also do it because you have to provide that information when you get that. A regular driver's license doesn't prove it. And if you have a real ID without the gold star, it doesn't prove it. So only the enhanced one does. If someone doesn't have a passport or enhanced ID, they would need a government-issued photo ID and one of the following: birth certificate, certified birth certificate of naturalization, certificate of citizenship, or consular report of birth abroad. So now it's a two-document process. On election day, you would need to show photo ID at the polls: Minnesota driver's license, Minnesota enhanced ID, passport, military ID, tribal ID. So that would be a big change. So that's what it is. I mean, there's some examples here, but basically it comes down to you'd have to prove that you could vote in election before you should. Now, I keep hearing this thing where it says, you know, there's such a small amount of people that actually do vote that shouldn't vote. Well, that's too many. One is too many. And that's as many as you've figured out are doing it. So you can't say that there's a small number because you don't know. It's impossible to know how many people are sneaking into the system to vote. So it's to say that it doesn't happen that much isn't good enough. You know, we shouldn't make murder illegal because it doesn't happen that often. It doesn't make sense, right? This could be a problem. The only place I can see this problem is that if a woman gets married or if somebody gets married and changes their name, because it's not just the women that do that. Then you have to show some sort of, you got a birth certificate under one name, then you have to show your marriage license or something else. You get divorced or married a couple times, you got maybe a big problem. Other than that, it shouldn't be, it doesn't seem like such a hardship to me.
No, it's still, you still have paperwork of chain of command, basically. So if you're married multiple times, you're going to have name change documentation from all these different places. So you just have to bring it to the, to the one place, get your enhanced ID, and it's done with.
Yeah, but the other thing is in Minnesota, they made it so that your your driver's license, they gave driver's license to illegal aliens. They automatically registered you to vote when you got a driver's license. And the driver's license given to illegal aliens or legal immigrants is indistinguishable from citizens' driver's license, as if they anticipated this happening someday and did this to make sure that it didn't get in the way.
Right.
I don't know if they can get enhanced IDs or the real IDs, but still, it's indistinct. How could you have a driver's license that you can't distinguish between a citizen and a non-citizen? It doesn't make any sense. Unless
there was a reason for doing something as precarious as that.
Right.
And we'll always go back to the same thing. What problem do Democrats want to solve?
Yeah, I need to get elected again.
Yeah, and that's the only one they're concerned about.
Right. So downtown, well, sticking on Duluth, a shooting took place in downtown Duluth. This was down near the DTA bus depot, right?
Correct, on Michigan Street.
Yeah, so, and I read a little bit about the story, and basically what it came down to is the cop showed up, and the guy didn't get shot. He got shot at, car was gone, and he was unresponsive or uncooperative. So that was the end of the investigation, as far as I could tell.
Yeah, I was reading the article, and I thought it was interesting that they mentioned 59% of downtown space is vacant. It's like
59%.
Yeah. So,
wow.
Has nothing to do with the story, but they're going to they're bringing up the fact that, okay, no one's going to get accidentally shot because nobody goes downtown Duluth anymore.
Don't worry. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
Yeah,
The chances of somebody getting shot is so infinitesimally small.
yeah, because and that's why the city council is, you know, did a good job. They emptied out the downtown Duluth,
Is that
so
why
no
they're
one get
spending?
accidentally get shot. Yeah,
Is that why they're spending thousands of dollars to figure out if we need new artwork in the Skyway?
yeah. It's all Kevlar, so it works. There's a purpose behind it.
Right. Last Duluth story. LuLu's Pizza is closing after 6 years in downtown Duluth. This was down off of, I want to say 6th Avenue West and Superior Street, somewhere
Yeah, something
in
like
that
that.
area.
Yeah,
I ran past that a lot because that's my route I take when I go running. And their hours were like like 1 to 3 or something like that, 5 days a week. It was just ridiculously small hours. So I'm not kind of surprised that it went away. It looked like good pizza. They had a big Black Lives Matter sign outside, so I didn't feel comfortable going into it. So I don't know if the shot of the pizza I saw looked pretty good, but I never tried the place. But it's tough to stay
yeah,
open. It was a tough area too. They don't have a lot of
right.
stuff over there.
Well, that's the thing. And nowadays it's convenience. So,
Mhm.
you know, people go to a place where they can come and go quickly. And that place, obviously, any place downtown isn't convenient to go to.
They
So,
just changed that building that's down there into housing. So it seems like they could have had a lifeline for that, but I guess not.
yeah.
It's tough running a business. It's tough running a restaurant. That's for sure.
Did you see that
Okay.
last? Did you see the? Did you want to mention that last comment we had about someone wants unfair elections? Yeah,
Is this one? Tell your
yeah,
grandkids what democracy was like. I'm not sure where that's going, so I didn't really wasn't going to address it, but I will. I will also
yeah,
tell them what a representative republic looks like.
yeah. They obviously want. We just want fair elections, and he doesn't. So
Well, I don't
that
know.
person
I don't
needs.
know the intent of the comment, so that
Yeah,
maybe that's saying, yeah, we're going down the tubes here if we don't get this stuff fixed.
hopefully, hopefully they're looking for legitimate elections.
That would be nice, yeah. Let's talk about this bill, the Minnesota legislation. So a new legislative bill could put a pause on data centers. Is this Minnesota or is this? Yeah, it's in Minnesota.
It's in Minnesota because first I thought it was in Egan because Egan just passed a 2-year moratorium on data centers or 1 year moratorium, but this one is a bill brought up for the state legislature. So uh, this would go across. You know, this would affect that Hermantown data center they're trying to install. You know,
I see a pattern because I saw this Representative Kozlowski just this last week stood up and said, save boundary waters because they got to be, very dramatic about it that the boundary water is going to be completely killed off if there's any mining up there. But she wants to stop all mining completely 100% in Minnesota.
right?
They want to stop data centers. What I don't ever hear is, how are we helping? We got to stop everything. These are the progressives. We have to stop doing this, have to stop doing that, especially when it comes to the mining. The mining is, we're opening it up so people can put permits forward to prove that they can do this thing and all the safeguards and so it's just going forward with a process that is, maybe you're going to get it, maybe you won't. Make sure everything's okay. But they don't want that. They just absolutely everything has to stop. That anything that progresses, and they call themselves progressives. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, and I was looking at because Pete Stauber got it pushed through the federal to do the mining,
Right.
and it wasn't in the boundary waters; it was outside of the boundary waters. So the question I had was, well, you're trying to stop mining outside of the boundary water, so well, where does that line go to? Is it south of Hinckley? We can't mine because of the boundary waters?
I don't think you can mine anywhere in the state because of the boundary waters, even though Canada
Well,
seems to be just happy to do it.
yeah, you basically can't mine anywhere in the state because of Democrats.
Oh yeah, they don't want anything that makes money except for pulling money away from people. That's their number
Yeah.
one revenue.
Yeah,
And the
for
data
taxing
center
people.
thing, you know, I think you have to be cautious about data centers. There's a lot of potential problems with it. Electricity being one. You know, who pays for the electricity and how does it get there? Water is another one. Does it contaminate the water or does it not? Is it readily available? And three, the noise. And you got to get buy-in from the people that live around it. But it's definitely not a no way can this ever happen. It should be a discussed, voted on, and then it
Right.
lives or dies based on people's want and desires. They can get a big benefit from it, or you know they don't want it. One of the two. But why always just stop discussion? We can't do it. That's just a loser attitude.
Right.
The first day of the Minnesota session was last Tuesday. Republican leaders say fraud, affordability remain priorities. I think that's absolutely true. Democrats' top priorities of the 2026 season of the Minnesota legislature gets underway is reining in the power of the federal law enforcement to conduct illegal immigrant crackdowns. So we can see where the priorities are. The
Yeah.
Republicans are fraud and making sure the budget's in play. And the Democrats are, well, we don't really have anything to do with the federal government at the state level, but we're going to put in a bunch of stuff that tries to impede them, which won't work. So good job.
Yeah, we want to protect illegals. We want to protect people breaking the laws. And if you really look at everything they introduced so far, it's helping out the criminals, is what it boils down to.
Not
And
only the
making
criminals, citizens from other countries. The criminals are from
Yeah.
citizens. That's who they're helping.
Right.
You know, at some point, if your wife is like looking at all the other guys and, you know, standing up for other guys and not doing anything for you, you got to look at it and go, why am I married to this woman? It's the same
Right.
thing with this. If you've got people you've elected that only seem to look out for other people, why do you keep electing them? They're not doing anything for you. They're hurting you, actually. You got to stop. You got to wake up.
Right. Yeah, they're protecting the criminals and taking away your rights to protect the criminals.
And your money.
Yeah. Yeah, when they want to like we just talked about, Walz and Frey want to give money to the people losing money because of their screw ups downtown
Right.
Minneapolis.
Yeah, they want to put a
So-
moratorium on evictions. They want to
Mhm.
give money to people to say they've been hurt because, I don't know, their employees wouldn't show up because they're afraid of being hauled off by the federal government. Well, you know what? They should be afraid. If you're here illegally every day, you should be afraid. And that anxiety should get to you the point where you go back home and you come back here legally. And you know what? Anxiety goes away.
Right. And the people that I've talked to, they weren't zero concern about ICE. They were more concerned about the protesters doing damage. So the ones that should be paying are the actual protesters out there, because they're the ones stopping businesses from doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're the ones stopping people to come into their neighborhoods.
Right.
You know, rile those people up and send them a $200 million tax bill.
Yeah. Instead of the rest of us. All right,
Yeah.
let's go through the Kozlowski co-authored on her first day. Access to school sites limited by the federal government. I'm taking it by ICE.
Yep.
State, county, and local governments units prohibited from entering into certain immigration enforcement agreements, and termination of certain existing immigration enforcement agreements required. Circumstances when a person may conceal their identity in public modified, and specific exemptions for law enforcement officers created. So they want to make sure that the law enforcement officers feel intimidated to do their job. Because I'll tell you what, I'll go to a MAGA protest and you give me a any kind of hat you want for Elizabeth Warren, Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, anything you want. I'll go to that and I'll see what my condition is. If you'll take and put on a MAGA hat, you don't even have to say anything, and go to one of these protests or go to Klobuchar's rallies or something. See what happens. See how you like
Right.
it. you most likely will be getting out of there bloodied.
Right.
Maybe at best.
Yeah, and that was to unmask federal agents so the public could dox them.
Yeah. Oh, listen to this one. Denial of an education based on immigration status is prohibited, and civil cause of action provided when right to education is denied. So they're not only saying you must educate illegal aliens, if you don't do it, you could get sued. Let's see. Possession of large capacity ammunition magazines banned. Of course, they can never define what a large magazine is and why it needs to be banned. Detention and transport of suspects in vehicles that are not designed for detaining humans and designated as law enforcement vehicles prohibited. So I don't know how you designate a vehicle to transport humans. I guess I don't completely disagree if it's strapping somebody to the side of a truck or something, but I don't know what this is.
Basically, my theory is they want, every time ICE detains somebody, they want it in a marked vehicle so they know that that person is being detained.
Sure. Right.
So it creates a unsafe environment for federal officers.
Yeah, they'd want to be able to target them and dox them.
Correct. Yeah.
Pete Johnson, that's Kozlowski's bills, another stellar group of primary authored bills that will not pass for her, third term? Or no, this is her second term, so the fourth year.
Yeah.
Pete Johnson, the suit without a person inside. Sale and possession of ghost guns prohibited. Great, Pete. Bureau of Criminal Apprehensive Use of Force Investigations Unit required to conduct investigations of incidents involving federal agents. So he wants to tell the federal agents what to do. Unfortunately for him, this is a state job. Another, the magazine one, and the other one that Kozlowski did. So he's an echo of anybody I've seen. I've not seen an original thought come out of that guy yet.
Yeah, like you said, like we've called him an empty suit 100 times.
Yeah.
We'll keep doing it for 1,000 more. So he's just a Democrat sheep.
Right. All right. I'm going to breeze through a couple things here with Tim Walz instead. We already talked about him saying he would rather eat glass than Phil Klobuchar's Senate seat. We already talked about Ellison. I'm going to put some links up here, so we don't need to show these. Ellison's testimony, he's just an embarrassment to Minnesota. He really is. I've never seen such a smug, full of himself guy in my life who could not answer a straight yes or no question to save his life.
Right.
So here's a great one. And this is just an example of what he did. Monero asked, if you enter the country illegally or overstay a visa, should you be deported? What was his answer? It depends. It depends. Yeah. Doesn't. Why should you?
Right.
So I have seen people say what?
He's been hanging out with Moriarty too long. So, oh, you killed somebody? Oh, well, that depends.
It depends.
If we charge
you go to jail? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, we'll figure it out later.
So people keep saying that being here illegally is a civil act and not a criminal act, which I think is just the most ridiculous argument I can get from especially somebody who's 21 years old. Like,
right.
Oh, okay. Well, if it's a civil act, well, and we don't do anything about those, right?
Right.
Entering the United States illegally is a criminal act under federal law, 8 U.S.C. 1325. It is a federal crime for a non-citizen to enter or attempt to enter the U.S. at time or place other than a designated port of entry, elude inspection by immigration officers, or use false or misleading representation to gain entry. This offense is known as an improper entry and is classified as a misdemeanor for a first offense, punishable by a fine up to 6 months in prison or both. But it is a crime. So just so you know that. Criminal act.
Right.
And then J.D. Vance said something here I thought that was good. even if there's no fraud, 85% of Somalians collecting welfare is way too many people collecting welfare, getting rich off the American taxpayer while a lot of Americans struggle. This is unacceptable, and I can't agree more. If you're coming to another country, you should be providing something. We should not be taking the people that can't provide anything that have to go on welfare. That's not how the system works. This is not why I pay taxes, to be able to support people from other countries to come here so they can get a house and a car and live a life. I'd rather give that money to my kids, my grandkids, my family, or keep it for myself. And then some people think that's selfish.
Well, just think of even the schools need more money. And if we weren't spending it, getting defrauded, we could spend it on the schools,
Right.
which helps everybody out.
Or homeless.
But
I mean, honestly.
Homeless vets first.
Exactly. Okay. We're moving right along here. Pretty good. Minneapolis Council. Oh, the Minneapolis City Council. That is the gem, I'll tell you. They're debating a liquor licenses for hotels who allegedly housed ICE agents. So they're going to punish businesses for housing people they don't like.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And they have the nerve to call the Trump administration fascists. This is the kind of stuff they do. This is communism right here. Communism 101. You hit yourself and then cry about being hit.
Yeah. Who's being vindictive now? They're blaming, Trump, or Walz keeps blaming Trump for being, using the government against him. What is this? It's exactly the same thing.
It's government retribution. Yes.
Yeah. Because you don't like what they're doing. We're going to destroy you.
Right. Okay. We're going to move on to national news. Scott Bessent, Secretary Scott Bessent, has announced that whistleblowers can report and expose fraud being committed, and they'll get 10 to 30% of fines imposed on the fraudsters. Now imagine that with the $250 million fraud that happened with Feeding Our Future. Now that's not the fine they're going to be, but they're going to impose some fines, and it's going to be in the millions of dollars, and you could get 10 to 30% of that. There's an incentive that people can cling on to, and they will start using this to actually report the fraud and then make sure it's investigated. This is great.
Right. Yep.
Because if there's fraud being committed, I don't mind getting a touch of that to people who figure it out and report it, because the amount you're going to lose over time is much more than that amount that person is going to get, and it gives people an incentive to do it. So I think that's great.
Yeah, if we can get our government to prosecute it.
Right.
So,
yes.
So yeah, that's the catch in it, because
Yep.
Moriarty, Bloody Mary, is not going to report any of it. Well, Ellison, he's not going to convict a single person on that. So, how do you? So now the question is, how do you actually stop it? Who do you have to talk to? Because
well, this is a federal level program, so I'm guessing it's the feds you have to talk to, the FBI.
Yeah. Go to the feds and tell them what's going on, because state's not going to do it.
Right. I'm going to skip this one and say, this sounds like a joke, but it's not. I found this link. It said 1 in 12 incoming USSD freshmen don't know middle school math. The remedial math course was too advanced. So they set up a remedial class, and it was too advanced for them. So USSD had to create a remedial math course. But here's the kicker. A quarter of the students placing into it had a perfect 4.0 GPA in their high school math courses.
Oof. So
let that sink in. These kids are getting through math classes in high school with a 4.0, and they can't do the remedial class at the university. So this is where the house of cards starts falling apart, right? University of California stopped using SAT scores to determine their admission. in high schools, they fake all this so they can get the graduation rates up. So there's people that don't show up to class, they get essentially an F. You know, it doesn't matter. They are, they're just passed through. So now it goes up to the college. Well, the college doesn't use SAT anymore to figure out what they should be doing. So now these kids come in and they're in their remedial math classes, and it just trickles up. This is the problem with allowing this at the fundamental level of grade school and high school. You've got to stop it there, because it doesn't get better as you get older. So now, you know, you've got people who are uneducated, and then they're hired because of how they look or what their race is or what their class is, because that's DEI hiring. So now you've got this horrible perfect storm of somebody in an important position that doesn't know what they're doing, but has been told their whole life, you're just great.
Right. And that's, and kind of to back up your, that's why I threw the next story on there, to back up what you've been talking about.
I like this. So Baltimore High School under fire after a senior student with a 0.13 GPA ranks near the top half of class and gets sent back to the 9th grade. How could they be the top half of the class with a 0.13 GPA? I mean, oh my God.
Yeah. So that means in that class, 62 people were below him, had a lower grade point average than 0.13.
Oh, Jesus. And so, quote, that's a great quote from his mom. He didn't fail. The school failed him. They failed at their job. Well, kind of. You know, I can place blame on him. I can place blame on you and the school. You've got to start paying attention to what's going on with your kids, right?
Well, that's the question I kept getting I raised the whole time reading this story was, did the school not tell mom that he missed let me see here, he missed he failed 22 classes and was late 272 times in 1 year. So was the school not telling the parent, or did the parent ignore the notices from the school to know that he wasn't actually going to school? You know,
22
he wasn't
classes in
showing
3
up.
years. 272 times in 3 years. That's almost a third.
And then he was failing, as you know, every time he went, he would fail a test or fail a report. So, but they kept passing him along until he was a senior.
Right.
Because they want graduation rates.
You got to think that part of that 0.13 was gym class too, right?
Right.
Could have been as the only class this kid passed.
So, I mean, on this one, who really do you blame? I'm obviously the student you blame, because he didn't show to, all he had to do is show up in class.
Right.
But
he didn't.
The school wasn't telling the parent, so the parent couldn't do anything.
Right.
So
he goes from 12th grade to 9th grade.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to pass 9th grade.
No, because I doubt I doubt he went to school prior to that also. So, you know, what grade is this kid actually at?
Yikes.
So
he's not a kid anymore. He's got to be 18, you know?
Right.
That's a lifetime of hardship right there.
Yeah, it's just, so and then that's probably what Walz wants is. So what, I mean, how do you fix a problem with that? So I don't know.
Well, here's how you start. It's the end of DEI for the FAA. The Federal Aviation Administration is issuing a new mandatory rule that requires all commercial airlines in the country to formally commit to merit-based hiring for pilots, according to a February 13th statement from the Department of Transportation. I don't know why that even has to be done. I mean, do you want a pilot? Do you ever walk into an airplane and go, God, I'm so glad my pilot is so-and-so, or, you know, is a white guy, is a black guy, is a Mexican lady? No, you're like, hey, my pilot knows what they're doing.
Yeah.
Same with your doctor, same with your lawyer. So it's sad that it has to be pointed out, but it is being pointed out by the FAA.
Yeah, you know, that's one thing. Yeah, you don't want to see a female fly in the plane and then wonder, you know, why Are they legitimate pilots or not? You know,
Yeah,
we never had to ask that 50 years ago.
exactly. It's demoralizing to people who have gone through the work and are good at it, and then to have that, you know, be the thing is,
Right.
you know, if people have to think that, that's horrible. You know, there's lots of qualified ones. There's some unqualified ones, but I can't tell. You know, you can't tell by looking at them.
Yeah, so now you always have to ask, which is stupid.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to take a hard right turn on this one. I got Hillary Clinton, and I'm not suicidal. Not that I would rise ever to Hillary Clinton's status of not her even knowing why I exist.
Yeah.
But she said more people were deported under my husband and Barack Obama without killing American citizens and without putting children into detention camps. Well, first thing is the detention camps that AOC was crying over. Do you remember when that happened?
Yep, absolutely.
Those were put together by Barack Obama.
Right.
And then I want to bring this up. You remember this? This is during President Clinton's term, where they had a automatic weapon pointed at a family. Now, thank God this guy's using good trigger control and he's got his finger off the trigger, but this is her husband's administration. So don't tell me about terrifying people. And I also want to talk about a little thing called Waco, Texas in 1993. Right. That was also under her husband's administration. What happened there? Well, they were trying to serve an arrest warrant. It was a 51-day surge, and then they started a fire as they broke into the place. 76 people died, 20 to 28 children, including the leader. So, yeah.
All right. And the Clintons and the Obamas didn't have protesters. If the protesters in Minneapolis stayed home and stay out of the way, there wouldn't have been anybody who got shot.
Right. Exactly.
It's very simple.
Yeah, the protesters are causing the problems. They deported more people under Obama and Biden even with no protesters, but you cause this problem and then you cry about the problem being there.
Right.
I'm going to post a link to this one. We don't need to go into it very much, but CNN is writing some story about how Christian nationalism is becoming a really big problem in the ideology. And I'm sorry, but I just don't see it. And I think they're just priming the pump to come after us again, which is what they do. Of all the problems in the world, I don't think Christian nationalism is a bad thing. And we'll talk about the word nationalism down below. We're gonna hurry through the rest of these because I'm going to try to get this done in the next 5 minutes because I got people working on stuff right here. International news. Representative Byron Donalds blasts the U.S. Olympians for politicizing the games, urges focus on national pride. So yeah, they've been asked, these athletes are being asked things like, given the state of America, how do you feel about representing your country? And some of them take the bait because these journalists are not your friends. They're not trying to be helpful to you. What they want is people to watch their show. So they're trying to get you to say something stupid. My question is this. Why are they asking this question? Why are they being allowed to ask this question? It's not just about the athletes responding. In the past, they never had to respond to stuff like this because they wouldn't be asked this stuff.
Yeah.
So why are they allowing the press to ask this? The Olympic Committee controls all this stuff. They could just stop it, but they choose not to. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't understand is why as an athlete, why would you represent a country you don't like?
Right. Good question.
If you hate America, then don't. And you're the best in the world. Don't represent it. And,
go somewhere else.
Yeah, that'll hurt America then, because you're not.
Right.
You're going to get the gold, and you stop that from happening.
Right.
Makes sense.
Last thing in international news is Canada and China have like re-upped their negotiation or their their friendship. Canada's passports holders can travel to China visa-free starting this week. I just want to let you know, Canada, you know we're not going to let you do this. Not for you. You will not become a threat to us.
Right.
I don't care what you think you can do. You can't do it. Not to the United States, not to us yet. I mean, maybe you could get there at some point, but you're not there. So tread lightly, Canada. I'm not trying to be threatening. I'm just saying we're not going to let China into our north border more than it already has been. So calm down.
Yeah, I don't understand why he's trying to, make upset, piss off the people that help him the most.
I don't know. I know it doesn't make any sense to me. We're going to go into helplessness, and I've got a couple stories here, and I'm going to post the links to them. But basically, it comes down to Al Gore talking about, he's just a fraud, and he goes through this whole laundry list of things that kind of Al Gore did this thing, the inconvenient truth. He put this whole system together, saying how CO2 was going to, we're going to not going to have any ice caps in 10 years. We're going to be melting. Sea level is going to rise. That was all going to happen by the year like 2014 or something like that. Nothing has changed. Ice caps are getting higher. We have a cyclical environment. And the next one, it talks about how CO2 is not a pollutant. It's a means of control. Everything you do has to do with CO2. Everything you consume, everything you do as, driving, waking up, breathing has to do with CO2. So if you can control CO2, you can control the people. So it's a very good thing to watch. We'll post this link as well. And just so the last one, you can pop this one up. It's funny because the glaciers are growing bigger. Or sorry, they were shrinking. That's bad. Now they're growing bigger. That's bad. You cannot win in this argument. It's never good enough. So just keep that in mind when you're trying to figure out what you're going to do to change the world. It's probably you're not going to do it. Individually, you can't do it. So only more taxes can solve it.
Yeah, that's what it boils down to. Al Gore created a problem that he could make money on, a problem that didn't exist that he knew how to make money on.
Right.
So, because when he flies to Davos and all these other environmental conventions, he's on his private jet.
Yeah, they take their big luxury cars about 2 blocks away, and then they get on their bikes and they bike in.
Yeah.
While the car idles there with the air conditioning running. Okay, we're going to end with the word of the day, and we have 2 words of the day. Occupation. You want to go over that one?
Yeah, we talked about this. I think we talked about this earlier. The main one is people are used to is a person's usual or principal work or business, especially as a means of earning a living. The one that we're concerned with is the seizure and control of an area by military forces, especially foreign territory. Number 4, the act of going into and taking control of a private or public space as like a park or a building, especially in an act of protest.
So they're occupying.
So the federal government isn't occupying the Twin Cities. The protesters are.
Yeah.
So if we remember back to the beginning of the program, one of our, if I can find it here to get her exact quote, she was talking about the Democrats and how they're trying to what they're trying to accomplish, and she wanted to stop federal occupation.
Occupation, right?
Yeah. So that's where occupation came from. It's her not knowing exactly what the word is.
Yeah. Well, that's not surprising.
Right.
The second word of the day is nationalism. So remember, I told you that they were saying there's an epidemic of Christian nationalism. So here's what nationalism: an ideology that emphasizes loyalty, devotion, and allegiance to a nation or nation state often prioritizing its culture, interests, and sovereignty above those of other nations or supranational groups. It typically involves the belief that a nation, defined by shared elements such as language, history, culture, ethnicity, or religion, should have its own independent state and self-governance. Those bastards.
Yeah.
It sounds horrible. Be loyal to the people you live with and you work with.
Right.
Crazy talk. All right. That's all I got for today. Please like and subscribe if you liked what you watched here. Our goal is to get to 100 by the end of next month. I think we can do it. I appreciate everybody that stuck around and listened to the whole thing. If you have comments, please let us know. Otherwise, we will be back here next week, 6 o'clock Central Time.
American
Be good
time,
to
yeah.
everybody. Here's a shaka. Till next week, I am Sean.
I'm Dave.
And this has been the Duluth Conservative. Thank you for coming and watching the show.